this video here is actually to demonstrate the whole workflow in the vision of a customer who approaches a shared business company and requests for a quotation, and how we can actually get the job engineered, designed, quoted, and all the way to fabrication. And we're gonna do this in a very quick manner because Shedmate does it very easily. And I would love you all to see the end results of all of our combined effort now coming together in the same platform. So it might give you a much better understanding of the powerful celebration we're making here, but also the powerful impact we're going to be able to make soon in the world by what we're doing here. Guys, there are applications here for the government, to defense, for rural, agriculture, commercial, industrial, you name it. So anyone using a steel design, we'll be able to help them out. So the first step when someone asks for a shed, say, hey, I would like to build the shed. Okay, what kind of shed do you want to build? So we come here to our inquiry system, and then you have a list of templates. So I'm going to select one of these. Let's say this is a residential project. So we can do a, domestic shed, and then the client can say, oh, it's actually 15 meters that I want it to be. And then, we can tie it up. I'm not going to cover all of the details. You know already how to use this part of Shedmate. But then we can come here and, just put the details. I'm going to use here Mike Jackson. Okay, Mike Jackson. And I'm going to use here our email and an address. I'll just put it down here. That's something in Mount Gambier, South Australia. All right, so that's a supply and build. No installation, and I heard about you guys from the TV and comments demonstration. Oops, sorry, demonstration. So I'll hit send. All right, so we have this request here, so we could just call this company and say, hey, I have inquired for quotation, can you get back to me? This is my code. So now what we do is we come here to the drafts, and we're gonna see that projects right now. So someone actually requested a quotation for this project. Let me see what's this project. So now we have our totally new user interface with all of the fancy features. So this is what the client wants, like a 15 meters, and I could call the customer and make a few changes here directly on the user interface. A few new features, we can actually tag all of the elements. This is great if I just want to send them a screenshot, and while we're on the phone, we can make modifications and send even as a phone text. So there are many applications of this. But okay, let's say that this is what the customer wants. No more modifications. The fabrication looks good. Everything looks fine. I can even go and change this to perspective, so I can zoom in inside that project for a walkthrough, and look how that's gonna look like. So that's very, very nice application for this new user interface we have published here. Good. With this being said, now I want to create a quotation for this project. But before moving to the quotation, I need to make sure that my frames are actually gonna match what I want, right? So if I show here just my fabrications, this frame might be too strong, I don't know. So what I'm gonna do, there are a few ways to do it. One, we have the Lookup engineering. So the Lookup engineering feature will pretty much look in a historical database in that specific region and check for any existing computations that matches 100%. It means the same width, the same height, the same terrain category, and we have a few here. So if I just select the first one, it's saying, okay, this is a computation from 6 all the way to 7.5. That's the shed maximum height is 3.2, and if I change this shed height, we're gonna use another one. And we have here the terrain category, the importance level, and shielding factor that's been considered for that specific one. So all right, I can see easily here that these frames in blue means that they are too strong, so I actually need to reduce their sizes. And everything in red means that this is actually not passing. It's gonna fail, okay? We're gonna have a structural fail on those items. So I can just select this computation and say and hit apply to all, and look what happens with my shed there. Done. So everything is green now, means, okay, now this shed's gonna pass. That looks good. So I've done this using historical information, but now I'm just gonna save this shed, and just quickly demonstrate the new feature we have now with a few limitations, all right? So this is the shed engineering. So the shed engineering, we can actually tie up the region type and the terrain category and importance level and go really deep. And what we're doing here is not only using a historical database, we're actually analyzing that structure. So it's going to consider all of the wind loads, it's going to consider the bed loads, that's like the self weight of every material. It's going to consider here what we call live loads, like imagine someone walking on the top of that specific roof. So that's things that we consider as engineers. So Shedmate's getting all of these members, analyzing the structure, and checking individually each of these members to make sure they're passing or not. Okay, so the way we do it, we just hit run engineering, and let's see the results. Okay, good. I've just run the analysis and it's showing here that the end wall girts didn't pass. That's it's a bug we have already identified and we're working on it, but it's just to demonstrate how it's going to look like. So pretty much, we run the engineering analysis and then it's going to say, hey, this engineering pass. So we can see the columns, rafters, mullions, purlins, sidewall girts, they all pass, it's just the end wall girts, but that's something, as I said, we are expecting this to happen. So just showcasing here a little bit of the workflow. Now, I'm not requesting engineering reports because I haven't sold this shed to the customer yet. What I want to do is I'm saving this shed. I have the members that I know that's gonna work fine. And as I said, I'm considering the end wall girts is gonna be all right here. So now what I want to do is I want actually to calculate how that shed's gonna cost so I can produce a quotation to my client. Before, in the Shedmate 1.0, we would have a very kind of complex process to do that. We had lots of Excel spreadsheets and things working on the background. Was still a very good, satisfactory result, but now we have a much better way of doing it. All I have to do is click here, right? And select the select the database I'm going to use for this one. So a database is pretty much the list of prices and how much I pay for each supplier and the calculations I want to make to quantify all of those materials. So let's click select and see what's going to happen here. Good. So at the bottom here, it already shows me, hey, this shed's going to cost $18,000, $18,749 and 94 cents. You might say, okay, what's being considered here for this price? So that's the purpose why we don't show all of the details here, because this is a sales point system. So if a company has salespeople and I don't want to provide all of the details to the salesperson, I just want to go there, sell the sheds, tell the client how much it's gonna be, and export, plans and information. That's how we do it, right? So if I want to actually go there and check every single details of that pricing, I can. I'm going to check that in this video. But I'd just like to make a few different changes here. So let's say that I actually change this to 3.1 meters high. Look what's going to happen with my price. So actually it goes up a little bit because I'm actually considering that difference. If I want to change the total dimension of that shed to 12 meters. So now it goes down to 15,889. If I want to change the roof angle, how would that impact? So I'm just changing it here, and it's changing in real time there. So it happens with every single element inside that shed. As I'm making modifications, Shedmate is actually telling me that price. So if you get a client and the client says, hey, I have a budget, $17,000, what kind of shed can you put up for me? And we can say, okay, let's try a 13 meters wide shed. And maybe you can even make it 3.2 there. All right, $17,000, so that's a shed that would fit your budget and has a good space. So that's one of the great applications of this system. But now let's save this. So I'll just jump here to my instant quoting feature. So we got that inquiry from the customer. We have already kind of designed the shed as the client wanted. We have kind of assessed the engineering and we have created a quotation. Now let's just see how this looks like here. So just doing a quick demonstration of our costing platform. So the first one is a summary. So I can actually write here inclusions, exclusions for that shed, general notes and terms and conditions if I want to. And that's going to be included in the reports. In other words, in the quotation document, as soon as Shedmate creates this automatically. And then we have our pricing database. Our pricing database is just a list of every single item that I have and the price. So if I just filter this by the most expensive ones, we have here the concrete pump hire, sliding doors, and sliding panels, and you name it. There are lots of items here. what we do in the pricing calculation is we get every single one of those items and we link to a specific element inside our model. So just to show you something very cool is if I click on the price here, this is actually telling me every item that's being quantified and every item that's not being quantified. So in this specific pricing list here, I don't have a price for the top hat 75.95. So this is not being considered in my model. So I can easily see, hey, there is something wrong here. So I would make a mistake using that calculation. So I can just easily fix this and I can actually put some pricing for my roller doors, and that would solve that specific issue. So by checking what's being quantified or not quantified, it gives me extra ability as an estimator to check not only the technical aspects of every single calculation I'm making here, but also to look for human errors. Also, if I just filter here by all of the items that are greater than 0, I can see everything that's being calculated for this specific shed. So the most expensive item would be the concrete slab. And then I have the trim deck iron, corrugated iron, and C150. So just opening one of them here, I can quickly explain a few things. So what we have done, we have linked the price from trim deck basalt. I was just using the collarbone colors. That's why I got basalt, because everyone else is the same. And just naming this, that's trim deck iron in collarbone. And I'm telling Shedmate, all right, I would like to quantify the linear meters, the length of that specific frame. And the unit price is $11.92. And I want you to get everything that starts with trim deck and that does not contain zinc. Why? Because if it's trim deck zinc, the price will be different because it's not collarbone. So I'm just using a few filters there. And then Shedmate says, hey, I have 56 items that I'm actually quantifying for you. And the subtotal in meters is 162. And because I'm multiplying that, I have this specific price. I could use many rules here. I could actually add a specific number saying, hey, I would like you to multiply this by 1.1. Just I want to charge more just in case, who knows. So there are all kind of things or different maths that people do. But I'll just leave this as it is. And they'll do it. So just... just multiply by 1. There you go. Hit confirm. So this is the list of items that are being considered in that shed kit, and we can actually get here not only items that are modeled inside Shedmate, but I could even add some admin costs. So for instance, CITB levy, or I could add items such as labor. So I'll have here shed erection labor for roof, pier. So the specific prices I could just assign to the specific items, or just create formulas inside Shedmate. So Shedmate's very powerful to do that. And in the onboarding process, we're going to help every single company to set up the way they want it. And once they set up, that's it. Like, it's set up. All they have to do in a new project is just click on that little button there. I'll just save this quoting. All they have to do is to click on this little button on the bottom here, and then it's going to actually load up the price for that specific shed. So very simple process. We don't ever need to go to the instant quoting. We just need to look at this little price here. Good. So it's been about 13 minutes. We are doing this demonstration. And now I'll just create that specific quotation. So I'll just get this quoting sample. Just use this one and ask Shedmate to generate that project for me. So it's now just getting all of that information that we have created, and let's open Jackson Mike project here. That was just an old one, still loading. Yeah, there we go. So it's just a quotation from my company to Mike Jackson, and then I have here information about the project information, building specification. So here we don't have project address and everything because we haven't specified in Shedmate, but we could do that. And I'll show how to do this and fix this issue. And it shows the steel structure details, concrete details, and everything for that specific shed. There are a few items missing here, but it's all a matter of setting up the right template. So I'm just in a testing environment, so there are a few things that are not going here, but they would be added soon as we set up that company. So going back here, all right, in just a few minutes, while I'm explaining to you, we have designed the shed, we have pre-engineered the shed, and we have created a quotation for that specific shed. I know how much that's gonna cost me to do it. Now I'm just gonna jump to edit side. So what we do here on the edit side is we select a address, and I could pick any address. So for instance, if I just go to Google Maps here, and I'm here in, let's say, Mount Gambier, that's how it's showing up for me. I'm just gonna open like probably there's a big site here, this one. So let me see what's here. Just gonna get this address, paste it here. Let's check real quick. So let's see if we can get this address here. That's a very odd address. Yeah, probably not, but I can find that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna yeah, not this one, maybe I'll just get this house. What's here? Yeah, there we go. Sorry, 112 North Terrace. So let's do this. I'm gonna select this address, and let's say that this is where my client is gonna be building that shed. Oops, not Adelaide. North Terrace, Mount Gambier. There we go. Now it gets the coordinates and everything. So I'm gonna select this, and look what's gonna happen now. So Shedmate automatically picks up my block boundaries. I can actually toggle high definition vision here. So that was an empty block, but now we actually have something there, right? This high resolution imagery is more updated, and it's actually much better because I could just come here and say measure, and I can zoom in. I can actually measure, for instance, the distance from here to here. So I know it's like 7 meters approximately, and we use this mostly for council planning approval. So we don't actually need a high level of precision. What we need here is the shed dimensions, and we need the block boundary. So for instance, I'm just gonna delete this one. Say, okay, that's not the address I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna select this, delete this guy, delete these dimensions here. And now I'm just gonna select a new coordinates. So by selecting this one, it automatically picks that specific block boundaries, and that's what I want to do. I just didn't know the address of that one, so I use a trick here. But now, while I'm moving that shed around, look what happens. I know how far it is from the block boundaries, and I could actually put that little shed, try to put it here. Yeah, there we go. Looks nice. So I'll just zoom in a little bit, maybe move it a little bit around. And yeah, there we go. I think I'll do it. There are lots of things we could do here. I'm not demonstrating all of the workflow, but we could add an access point to it. We could, add a water tank. We could add, wetlands and nodes. I could add a note here and say there is an existing building here. There is an existing building here. Hit confirm. That's it. And if I want, I could actually add a site detail to this specific region, because I want to see this in really a good detail. All right. Now all I have to do is hit save and generate a PDF. So let's see if A4 is gonna do the job. Otherwise, I can just recreate it for A3. So now, once again, Shedmate's real time. So I'm just creating a real time site plan for this specific shed, and voila. I have here all of my project details. I have here the proposed shed. There is an existing building here. I have my access point on the top. And if I scroll down, I can just see in a similar view with that specific site detail that I put. So I can see here more details, how far it is, 1.7 meters from the boundary. So guys, how long would it take us to do this? Probably more than this whole demonstration that I'm showing you guys here. All right, something else very nice is if I go back here to my shed and now I export my architectural plans for this specific shed, because I have set up the site location, Shedmate will automatically update the the north orientation of that project. So if I download this, let's open this. Once again, how long it would take anyone to create plans like this? So I have here my 3D model. I have my north orientation, so it's already matching the north. I noticed something here, like the north is there, so my my models, they are on the bottom here. So probably I would need to fix the position of that shed. So I'll just go back to the side, and I can just rotate this and say, actually, that's how I want it to be. And I just want to put it there. So if I toggle HD, all right, I'll leave that shed there. So cars can access that shed from here. Let's say that's a storage or whatever. Once again, that's just a demonstration. And I can save that PDF again. I'll just produce the PDF again, just because it's gonna update in my storage. Okay, so this is gonna go to the storage. The storage is here. So when I open this, all of the documents I'm creating inside Shedmate, they show up here. All right, so let me close this now, and let's go back to my model. And now I'm gonna export my architectural plans again. So because I have rotated the position in my site plan, that north orientation will actually be updated as well to match my shed. So because I just created another one, it goes to my storage as the newer version. There we go. The north orientation is to the bottom. So now the position of the roller doors, they match what I want to create. So I have here the spinaways, skylights, the grid lines, everything is there. What happens if we do a shed modification? No problems. Just create the process again. We're going to have instant documentation for everything. So I have here all of my views. I have here square fascia. There are a few details here, like this downpipe. It's kind of clashing, but you know, just open a PDF editor, move this a little bit down, and that's it. No big drama, no big deal. That's much easier to do than you know, creating this from scratch. And it actually gives us a concrete slab plan as well. What's another plus of Shedmate, showing the footing details there. Very cool, very nice. So less than maybe 20 minutes so far that we're talking about Shedmate, and we've created a shed design, we created a quotation, we created a quote that we can send to customers, a site plan. We have seen a bit of the instant quoting and what's being quantified, what's not being quantified, and we created a complete site plan. There are other things that can be done here. One is, if I'm actually working with a custom shed, I could actually export this as a native file to Autodesk Revit, to Design Review, to an IFC that can be opened in pretty much any BIM system out there, and a DXF file that's an AutoCAD file, right? Is the native CAD file format. So I could just export all of these files and use them in any platform I want. Or if I use tackle structures or advanced steel, that they're the most popular in the steel industry, we have specific IFCs for them. You might ask, Arthur, what's the difference between this IFC and those IFCs? Those IFCs here, these here, we have actually improved them to make sure that everything would match tackle structures and advanced steel, so no errors are found. So pretty much when you export from here to tackle or to advanced steel, these systems, they will read the profiles as native members. So you can just import there and start using and adding your connections. All right. From here, what happens? I have all of those documents that here, the quotation, the site plan, architectural plans, and I can actually share this with my customers. Once the customers, they approve and say, hey, Arthur, I want to go ahead with that shed, you know, let's book it in. Here's my deposit invoice. I have paid it for you. Now let's build. What we do is we promote that job. So promoting pretty much means moving that prospect, that lead, that initial inquiry to actually a project that we need to develop. And the first thing that Shedmate will ask me here is actually to make sure that all of the information is correct. Because if Shedmate is creating the contracts, if Shedmate is creating the construction documentation, I want to make sure that all of my tire blocks, they're going to match the information of the client. So we can actually select a new client, or we can say, hey, create a new client with the existing information. So Mike Jackson with these details. So I'll just put here Mike, because I have already another email with that one. So Mike Jackson, and that's a phone number and the full address. I'll just get that one. I don't know this address here, so I'll just use that house as this example, but you know, it doesn't matter much. Come on, Gambier. So it gets all of those details. I'm just gonna save it. Now it's gonna ask me, hey, is this site where the shed is going to be built the same as the client address or a different address? So sometimes we have a client that lives in a specific address, but they're building some in a different place. So I'll just use in this case saying, hey, that's the same address. And then it's going to ask who is actually going to be the builder of this project. Once again, knowing the builder will make sure that the information in the title blocks, in the contracts, they're going to be correct. So I can say that Shedmate Alpha, that's the name of my company here. I could say that Shedmate is the builder or the client is the builder. So it's going to say that who is the builder? Client. And then we're going to put the client details there. So I'll just select this one here. And then last step, this is a structural steel or code form shed. Is it a rural, carport, domestic, commercial? That's just for internal qualification. So I'm going to say that this is a domestic and I am the responsible for this one. So I have lots of people here involved in testing this one. So job number addition, this is for companies who have a specific job number. So some companies will say, okay, that's a new number. It's going to be project G8976. No problem. They can put this name in here. And once I save, it's going to say, all right, Arthur, a new shed will be created for this specific client. And that's the name of that project. Jackson, Mike, and that specific additional number. That's the project 32. Code form shed on March 2024, so this month. I'll hit save here. And now the job was created and now it moves from my drafts to my jobs. So here I'm gonna have a list of projects that I'm actually working to deliver, and then it unlocks a few other items such as the bracketry, fabrication frames, and the orders, and a few other things here. Now let's start with the brackets, right? So when I open the bracketry system, I'm not going to show all of the details of this editor here. We can, create a course in Shedmate showing everything, how it works perfectly. But the workflow is pretty much, I'd like to convert this shed to a bracket shed. So what we're doing here, if I zoom in, you can see that we have some frames that they're kind of overlapping a little bit. And that's normal, that's how we want them to be, because they have like a point that they're connected. But now when I'm putting the connections there, like bracket connections, I need to make sure that I cut these frames and I punch them in the correct place so the bolts will be put in. And that's what happens when I convert my shed. You can notice that all of these members that are kind of overlapping, they're gonna be cut and punched correctly. So if I just convert my shed, I'm using here my default gable. It could be gable or skillion or a Z purlin and girts. If I'm using a Z purlin and girts, in this case it's just top hats. So I'm gonna use the default gable and just hit run. And look what's gonna happen. Boom. So now Shedmate color codes it. So we have different colors for the same profile. So all of the profiles here in this color, they are exactly the same. All of the profiles in green, they're the same. So as you can see, this one here is a little shorter than this one. So that's why I have different colors. And then we have a few things that we can change, like this one here. Some builders, they prefer to just order materials as it is in a default. Some other builders prefer to move this up or cut this a little bit to extend. So we can all do this here in moving frames, extending, trimming. But I'm not going to make these modifications for this demonstration. I'm focusing on the workflow. So now if I just hover over my mouse, I can see that the rafters, they're not clashing anymore. They have specific cut lengths. And the brackets are applied, not only the main brackets, but if I rotate the shed here, you're gonna see that I even have my, footing base plate connections there. I have some girt details, so there are lots of stuff that's implemented in this shed now. So now that I have a shed that's more precise in terms of the constructability of it, I'm just gonna sync these frames with my fabrication module. I'm gonna jump to the fabrication module soon. I'm gonna just make sure that I sync this to the stock items. So now it allows me to go to the orders, and actually it adds all of those plates and brackets and fixings to my ordering list. Okay, so this will allow me to create my orders. And there are all other things I can do here. I don't have any sliding panel, but I could create a sliding panel fabrication plans. I can create cladding layouts. I'm just gonna hit go here to show what's the cladding layout that Shedmate is gonna create. I can create marking plans or structural plans, structural elevation plans. That's another way of calling the same thing. Just opening these two so we can see them. and I can actually create another concrete plan. So what's the difference? Now that I have the hold down bolts, or the base plates, I know how my concreting plan is going to behave in a more precise way, so I can create better concrete plans. And I think that's it. I could recreate the architectural plans from here as well, but just showing, I have here my concrete slab, and it's a lot more detailed than the previous one. And if I just see the other pages, I know exactly where to drill here to put my true bolts, and everything is very detailed in this specific one, even the concrete apron and the rebates. So how long it took us? Well, we're recording this video in 30 minutes, demonstrating, and I have everything for this project. Cladding layout. So it shows me here where the skylights are, the cladding number. So what they are, this one's corrugated evening haze and the length of it. It shows me here on the end walls, including the PA door. By the way, depending on the rules, we can actually extend this cladding here. So it's all a matter of settings. And that's the cladding layout we've got. And then we have that marking plan. So the marking plan will show the position of bracing. We're going to have like a 3D view there. But this is generally what we're more interested in knowing every single elevation and what each of those frames are. So if you're erecting the shed, you can use Shedmate and actually click on them and see what each member is, or you can just print this and take to the site, and you know that the columns are 150 by 19, and I have the end wall gird. So everything is kind of tagged here, so you know exactly what each of those frames are. So this combined with my cladding layout, we provide everything that erectors need to put the shed together. All right. Good. So we have created lots of documentation so far. We just need to jump to the storage and see, there's a lot of things there. So now I'm gonna go to the fabrication frames. So the fabrication frame will get all of those specific columns, rafters, and top heads and girds that we produced in the previous step. And now it shows me here in 3D each one of them individually. And if I want to, I could actually punch or double punch them individually as I want. So that's what Shedmate created automatically for me, this punch 96. I could actually select and make modifications to it. And this is very helpful for people who want to order extra frames, or if they want to make specific modifications to the frames before sending to the supplier of steel. This can be done as well. So you can see that this is probably, that's a fabrication frame C150. So that's a column. We have here the punching holes for the connection. And then we have here more double punching for the base, for the footings, right? And I could actually open the list and see all of the items I have there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of them, just remove from here probably the straps. I don't need details of like the bracings, and just ask Shedmate to create the orders for me. Just hit go, and now Shedmate is going to produce two things. One is the PDF that I'm going to show you in a minute, and the other one is the CSV file. This is a Excel file that we can actually send to the machinery so they can automatically cut and punch the frames. So at the moment we're using this with High's machinery, but we can adapt this to different machinery as we go. So if your company uses a different machinery to cut and roll, cut and punch those specific profiles, we could adapt to speed up and automate your fabrication as well. So that's very cool, right? But now let's download the PDF plans. So if I open here the PDF plans, I can see for that specific item, I have here C1, so that's column 1. I have 10 columns and the length is 3.2 meters high. That's the frame. And this is the profile. And this is here the punching list where I want to punch, and the distance 50 mil, 120, 2954, and 3104. So all of these details are there. So this is what we will need pretty much to do that. And I have this for every single frame, including the top hats. So I just need to send this to my supplier of steel so they can start cutting, punching, and sending that to me so I can erect that shed kit. All right, and the last step of the workflow is the orders. So how we do with the orders? So pretty much Shedmate gets all of that bill of materials, everything is quantified, we got the bracketery system, it understands all of the fixings and everything, and now we have this system here that's very smart. it's listing all of the categories in my shed. So I have flashings, gutters, pipes, concrete reinforcement, walls, roofs, opening, roller door accessories, spinaways, cladding, bolts, plates, turnbuckles, frames, and you name it. Now all I have to do is select the ones I want to specific orders. So as an example, some companies, they buy the flashings. I'm just going to select all. They buy the flashings, they buy gutters, they buy pipes, they buy, let's see what else, cladding and frames from the same supplier. That's generally, steel suppliers. So I'll just add this to the order, and then I can actually put my order name. So I'm just putting flashing, gutters, and others, and it's including all of these items here, and I can actually tell what's the order number and where I'm gonna actually ship to. So we have here the client address, and we have here my company address. So you could deliver to your company or deliver straight to the client, or you can manually specify the shipping. So this goes in the documentation. So I'll just say, okay, deliver this to my client address, and now I'm just gonna hit download. So what happens here is Shedmate already created that purchase order. Everything is so fast, it's real time. And if I open this purchase order, it's gonna show me all of those items, and I can pretty much just send this to my supplier saying, hey, that's a purchase order. You can put your logo here, Project Jackson Mike, all of the details are here, when I started, what's the client name, where I want it to be delivered, and all of the details about flashings, the length, the quantity, gutter brackets, pipes, cladding, structural frames. Wow, everything's there, guys. And I could actually keep adding more to it. So if I want to add, for instance, my openings. So I'm going to select and add. So now I'm adding to a second order, not the same order. This was all combined. That's a second order. And then it's actually removing all of those items from my left panel, so I can have this control of what's being ordered or not. Concreting, I'm not gonna order concreting. My company is gonna do it. And the walls, roof, don't want to worry about them. So maybe roller door accessories. It's gonna be another order, and I'm gonna put the fixings here. All of the bolts, plates, turnbuckles, and the little things like screws, PA door handles, they're all going to the same place, including vermin proofing. Add to order. So now I have all of these different orders here. I can add or remove them from my download, or I can change the order if it's going to be the first one, second one. So now when I hit download, Shedmate just going to create that updated order for me. I'm just saving that. So let's open this up. And I have the flashing gutters and orders, I have the openings, I have roller door accessories, and I have bolt plates and orders. So all of the orders in the same place, ready to go. So I can just pretty much print this, and send to my specific suppliers, or just send them the file. And this is it. This is the whole workflow and the whole overview of how we can create and design sheds using Shedmate. So very powerful engine. We go from the shed design all the way to the pre-engineering. We use the instant quoting system to quantify that and send a quotation to our client, including a site plan or architectural plans if you want to. There is also an option to create a quotation plan that's simpler. And then from there we can edit the site. We can use the bracket system once the project's booked in. Set up all of the fabrication frames that Shedmate does automatically, but you still have that flexibility to make changes as you go. And then it ends with the orders, so you can produce all of the orders. And if you're actually using a specific project that requires some customization that Shedmate cannot do, so for instance, if you're doing a house, like a house using a shed, and you want to do your internal lining, you want to do ceiling, flooring, cornices, you can just come here, export this to Revit. It's gonna open as a native Revit file, and you can actually open that file in Revit and go from there. All right. If you're using structural steel sheds, instead of doing the fabrication frames and orders in bracketry using this system, you can export this to Tekla Advanced Steel. And then from Tekla, we have a plugin that you can do everything in Tekla and send the information back to Shedmate for the orders, or you can use Advanced Steel, do all of your ordering there, and all of the modifications to add the connections. All right, we don't have the connections for structural steel in Shedmate yet. That's something that's coming in the future, but for now this is a really good return on investment, is to use Shedmate to do the whole bulk of the work and finish up in Tekla or Advanced Steel. And as we create in documents, everything goes to our storage. So we have all of the storage there, all of the files. So I can actually open this one here and, you know, check that, you know, we have two versions of the same file. If I click on it, I see that I created this file at that time. I can copy this, I can download. So there are all kinds of things that can be done to manage all of the system in the same place. And this is an overview of Shedmate 2.0. We are more powerful. We have a much more intelligent system, much more reliable system. We can engineer things as we go. We can design and quote in real time. And I hope you enjoyed it, because I'm in love with it. Thanks so much, guys. Good job, amazing work, and let's keep building it.